Arriving in Guinea-Conakry, in the early morning of Monday, June 3, 2024, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov was carrying a message of friendship and fraternity from President Vladimir Putin to the President of the Republic of Guinea, that is Army Corps General Mamadi Doumbouya. Upon landing in the country, Sergey Lavrov, as head of the Russian diplomacy, had a meeting with his Guinean counterpart, during which their talks mainly focused on cooperation between Conakry and Moscow. He was then introduced to the Guinean head of state a couple of hours later, by his Guinean counterpart, that is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Integration and Guineans Abroad, Dr. Maurice Andekiyate. And while at the presidential palace, Sergey Lavrov expressed his feelings by recalling the areas on which Guinea and Russia have been cooperating for many years, and this is what he had to say in a joint press briefing with his Guinean counterpart. With the Republic of Guinea, we have been friends for a long time since the independence of this country. Since it freed itself from the colonial yoke, and it was at the time of the USSR, and even after the Soviet Union. In addition, there is an agreement on the establishment of diplomatic relations with this country, and this agreement dates from 1958. Now, we are working on development, on revitalization in our exchanges, and we welcome our colleagues in terms of economic development. With our report, there are Russian companies which operate, which still work in Guinea. It is also the Russian military training from which the Guinean officer cadets benefited, and which after this training, they joined the Guinean army. There is also training cooperation in medicine, and I know that it is important to boost our cooperation in military and technical matters, because there is always the question of increasing defense capacity on our agenda, and our bilateral agenda is positive. And we confirmed that it was positive during my meeting with my counterpart, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and during my meeting with the President, and we are therefore planning to boost this relationship, this cooperation. On his part, the Guinean Minister of Defense recalled that the Republic of Guinea, in its capacity as a sovereign and independent nation, is open to any cooperation that's beneficial to its people. The Minister is here as special envoy of President Putin. And it is in this capacity that he was received by the President of the Republic, Head of State, Lieutenant General Mamadi Doumbouya. Indeed, we spoke about our relations, and the President was very clear that our relations are old relations and they remain dynamic. And this morning, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, before the Head of State, it was said again by the most authoritative voice, that of the Head of State, that Guinea remains an open country. A country which is sovereign, and a country which cooperates with everyone. So this was said and reaffirmed, since it had already been said at the podium of the United Nations. We were received by the Head of State who followed the line of his illustrious predecessor, who is the first President of Guinea, and to say that Guinea remains a friend of the Russian Federation. We also talked about economic cooperation, and the essential point that must be remembered is that we talked about the mining Russian companies which are in Guinea. We told our partners that Guinea does not renounce its commitments, but Guinea can review its commitments to readjust them. This with our partners, all partners. And that is why all the questions that were asked about mines, about other companies, we said that Guinea has a strategic committee which works within this framework, and we will deal with all these questions at this level. And that was well appreciated by the Russian side. This is to say that we are willing to work with them. These companies have lasted a long time in Guinea. They have had many governments that they have seen come and go. But since September 5th, there has been a new government here under the leadership of a new president, who wants Guinea to belong to the Guineans, in economic terms, in social terms and in political terms. Those do not exclude working with the entire international community. So we do not have the same views. We will strengthen, as he said, our bilateral relations as with all countries, and Guinea will always respect its commitments. Through the trip of Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov to the Republic of Guinea and his reception by the Guinean authorities, we can affirm that the expectations of the two nations are clear and precise. Strengthening cooperation ties between the Kremlin and the Mohammed V Palace. His Excellency's visit underlines the strategic importance of bilateral relations between Conakry and Moscow. It also demonstrates Russia's continued commitment to strengthening its ties with the Republic of Guinea, illustrating the depth of our partnership. Under the visionary leadership of General Mamadi Doumbouya, President of the Republic and Head of State, Guinea continues to assert itself on the international scene, welcoming with honor diplomatic initiatives such as this visit.